They're walking to the steps.
Where are we going? Boy, oh boy. You guys are fabulous. Stop pushing. It's 60. They want to know the 60. So it's October 5th.
All right, guys. So there you have it. They are the radical socialists, AOC, Cori Bush, and Chuck Schumer, hugging it out, celebrating the fact that they're going to screw over more small landlords and investors and ultimately poor people in the long term with their radical socialist policies. Okay, because guys, this is radical socialism, as the Biden administration / CDC has extended the eviction moratorium to October 3rd, despite the fact that the Supreme Court just said that the CDC does not have the authority to do this. They do not dictate housing policy, but they've overstepped their bounds in the name of public health once again. And I'm telling you guys, this is going to screw over so many small landlords and poor people in the long term, because this goes against the laws of economics, guys. I mean, consider this, right? Economics 101, okay? And the law of maximum, right? In revolutionary France, 1793, there was a shortage of bread, right? So there was a law put in place that set a maximum price that can be charged for bread, right? And if you were a baker and you charge more than that, if you broke that law, you were guillotined, okay? You were guillotined, right? So what ended up happening, guys, ultimately there was less bakers and less bread, okay? Less bread. And guys, you know, this is an antidote, oversimplification, right, of what happens in situations like this when it comes to radical social policies. But the point is simple. Politically popular solutions often precisely contradict economic reasoning. And that is what's happening right here with this eviction moratorium. And this is what the radical socialists don't realize. This is why every time they want to talk about, well, this policy is popular and that policy is popular and we just try to be humanitarians, they don't understand the market. They don't understand how life works. What they ultimately end up doing is hurting people. I'm going to explain as I read to you guys about what is happening. The Biden administration on Tuesday announced a new ban on evictions for many renters just days after the White House allowed a nationwide moratorium to expire on Saturday, infuriating progressive House Democrats who warned that millions of Americans could lose their homes. So, as you guys know, Cori Bush and the radical socialists, okay, because that's what they are, went out and protested in front of Congress and did like overnight sit-ins to say, hey, we need to extend the eviction moratorium. Be damned the landlords, okay? Be damned the small investors. Be damned the middle class, right? The people that, you know, put their money up, risked their money, their capital to enter the housing market. Screw those people. We just want to protect people whom basically a lot of them are trying to game the system and not pay rent at all, okay? Basically forcing landlords to give high interest payday loans, right? That otherwise, you know, if the CDC wasn't forcing them to do that, would violate usury laws, okay? Wouldn't even be legal without the CDC, okay? Forcing them to do that, something that they're not going to get paid back for, right? Ultimately, they're going to lose out. Yeah, screw those people. Screw those people, right? Screw the middle class, right? We just want people to be able to live in housing for free, okay? We don't want them to have to pay rent. Cancel rent, okay? That's what they said. And the Biden administration fell in line. And guys, it's funny because I did a video before about the progressives being weak, not using their power, right? And I told you, it's a good thing they don't use their power. But they did in this situation, and they forced the Biden administration's hand on this, and it's not going to be good in the long term, okay? I'm very surprised that Biden folded on this. But I'm also not at the same time because this was a disaster for the Biden administration, right? From a PR standpoint, it was a disaster for them. Okay, this issue right here literally could lead to them getting blown out in 2022. And it still will, because there is no good outcome to what's going to happen here. As President Biden hinted during his Tuesday afternoon news conference, officials at the Center of Disease Control and Prevention drafted a new eviction moratorium aimed at protecting tenants in counties with substantial and high levels of community transmission of COVID-19. Over 90% of the U.S. population lives in the affected areas, sources told the Associated Press. So essentially, they just ignored the Supreme Court. That's what they did. They said, screw the Supreme Court. Which, I mean, guys, imagine if Trump said, screw the Supreme Court, I'm just going to do what I'm going to do. Right? Imagine how the media would be reacting. Okay? They're essentially overstepping their boundaries. The CDC has said, no, we have more authority than the Supreme Court because of public health. That's what they're saying. Laws be damned. Freedom be damned. And they've been saying this for a long time, guys. This is why the right was so on point warning about this type of stuff. Warning about the executive branch taking power, right? Throwing things out of balance in regards to how things are supposed to be. Just in the name of public health. That's what's happening, guys. More power is going to executive branch, right? The CDC probably is the most powerful government institution in the country right now. And they're not elected. These are not people that we've elected. Okay, that's what's happening. This honestly should be scary as hell to a lot of people right now. What has happened should be scary as hell. I'm so serious. And in all fairness, Biden knows that the court is going to strike this down again, right? He knows. But he also knows that it's going to take time for them to do it. And because it's going to take time, well, it'll provide temporary relief. That's the whole strategy here. Okay? And guys, I mean, think about just how reckless that is, right? We're going to break the law, knowing that we're breaking the law, just to try to provide temporary relief because, we didn't do anything about this, even though we knew this was on the horizon for months. I mean, this is lawlessness, guys. It really is. The 2-month moratorium expires October 3rd. The emergence of the Delta variant has led to rapid acceleration of community transmission in the United States, putting more Americans at risk, especially if they are unvaccinated. CDC Director Dr. Rochelle Walensky said this moratorium is the right thing to do to keep people in their homes and out of congregate settings where COVID-19 spreads. It is imperative that public health authorities act quickly to mitigate such an increase in evictions, which could increase the likelihood of new spikes in COVID-19 transmission. Such mass evictions and the attendant public health consequences would be very difficult to reverse. All right, so what they're saying is that, well, evictions increase crowding, right? Crowding is the number of renters divided by available residencies, okay? But see, the problem is, again, this is not economically sound. What happens actually is that if you have eviction moratorium in place, that actually encourages landlords not to put rental properties on the market in the first place because they know there's a good chance they're not going to get their money, right? They're not going to get their money, right? People are going to use it. They're going to, tear up the place, and I might not get my rent, right? I might not get the money that I'm owed on it, okay? So what's going to happen is that there are actually going to be less rental properties available, right? Residences available, which is going to increase crowding, right? That's what happens, right? It's going to be the same number of renters. It's just going to be less properties available because people be like, I don't want to rent out my property, right? That's what's going to happen. And as you guys are aware of, I'm pretty sure you understand that we're in a housing shortage crisis right now, okay? That's why the price of homes have gone up so much, right? That's why the price of rent have gone up so much, right? And instead of using some common sense laws, right, which would be to eliminate the government bureaucracy in regards to land usage and occupancy rules, right, that keep a lot of rental properties off the market, okay? Instead, no, let's just put an eviction moratorium in place, something that completely defies economic logic, okay? But see, again, when it comes to socialism, economics be damned, right? They don't really care about all that. Consideration of another pause came after immense pressure from progressive lawmakers for Biden to act quickly and extend a moratorium after the White House punted the issue to Congress last week, arguing that their hands were tied by a recent Supreme Court ruling that implied most justices believed the CDC had exceeded its authority with the ban. So again, they're saying, Supreme Court be damned. We don't care about what you say. CDC is the highest authority in the country. On Monday, White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki said Biden had asked the CDC on Sunday to consider extending the moratorium for 30 days, but said the agency has been unable to find legal authority for a new targeted eviction moratorium. Our team is redoubling efforts to identify all available legal authorities to provide necessary protections. Psaki said Tuesday the administration was considering installing a partial limited short-term extension, though she said no decision had been made yet. An 11-hour effort in the House to keep the ban alive until the end of the year also failed after Democrats were unable to secure the necessary support for at least a dozen members of their own caucus. Even if the House had passed a measure extending the ban, it almost certainly would have died in a 50-50 Senate. House Democrats and the White House both shifted their attention over the weekend to expediting the distribution of $46 billion in rental assistance that Congress approved in December and March. Treasury data shows that just $3 billion of the roughly 6.6% of the money was doled out during the first half of the year. Guys, ain't that a damn shame? Again, government bureaucracy here at work. 6.6% of the funds have been actually given out, right? And guys, I mean, I've been reading about this stuff, and apparently, I mean, part of the problem is the fact that landlords have been trying to encourage people to say, hey, listen, if you need rental assistance, sign up for this, because in a lot of circumstances, you need the tenant to get on board as well. They need to be involved in the process. A lot of tenants are saying no, they don't want to be on board with the process. Okay, so that was also screwing over the landlords, and part of the reason why these funds are not being distributed fast enough. Okay, because a lot of tenants are just not even going through the process. They don't even know that it's available. They don't even know it's available. Should have probably spent more time marketing that, right, than other things that the government has spent time marketing. Probably should have put just as much effort into marketing this program is available and that you should, do this and make it as simple, as easy as possible, and maybe try to incentivize people to, I don't know, get a permanent source of income like a job instead of collecting unemployment. Maybe you should have focused on that, right? Maybe the government should have focused on that. There can be no excuse for any state or locality not accelerating funds to landlords and tenants that have been hurt during this pandemic, Biden said in a statement on Friday evening. Still, Democrats were unrelenting in their urging of Biden to extend the ban unilaterally. Quote, I wish that the president, the CDC, would have gone for and extended the moratorium. Representative Maxine Waters, the chairwoman of the House Financial Services Committee, told the Times on Monday. They have the power to do that. I think he should have gone in and he should have done it and let the chips fall where they may. Again, Maxine Waters, screw the Supreme Court. Screw the laws of the land. Screw the Constitution. Screw it, right? Let's screw over landlords. Okay, screw over poor people in the long term. Right? We just need to win in 2022. We need to look good. We don't care about the laws. We just want to win. Again, Republicans will never be able to get away with this. Progressive lawmakers celebrated news on Tuesday. Grateful, tweeted Representative Cori Bush, sharing an image of several House Democrats who camped outside the Capitol in protest of the evictions bans in. Without the eviction halt, which the CDC first implemented last September, more than 15 million people living in the U.S. who were behind on their rental payments could have faced eviction, according to a study published Wednesday by the Aspen Institute and COVID-19 Eviction Defense Project. All right, guys. So what's going to end up happening here? There's going to be no good outcome, okay? Because now what has to happen, guys, is that, these landlords are owed money, right? The government is never going to implement sensible policy, right? The sensible thing to do would have been to get rid of the government bureaucracy when it comes to land usage and occupancy rules. Because like I said before, that government bureaucracy is what keeps a lot of rental properties off the market. The government should have incentivized more investment in rental properties and try to increase the supply of housing through the free market, right? Easing some of this government regulation that, again, disincentivizes people from entering the housing market in the first place. What they also should have did was they should have expanded existing programs that already help out people struggling with rent, right? That's what they should have did. That's what they should have did. They already have plenty of government subsidies, plenty of programs that help people pay rent, right? That are struggling to pay rent. They should have extended those programs. The eviction moratorium, on the other hand, has really incentivized people who don't want to pay rent not to pay, right? Especially those who are struggling the least, who are just like, I'm just not going to pay. Right? I'm just not going to pay because I think that I can get away with it. So you have a lot of people that aren't really struggling that just aren't paying rent. Again, it's just like the IRS saying, we're going to stop jailing people for avoiding paying taxes. Okay? So what do you think will happen? What will happen is that people would just stop paying taxes, right? They would just stop paying taxes. That's essentially what the eviction moratorium has done to the housing market, right? That's what it's done. It has made it so people are not incentivized to pay rent. And guys, I mean, the CDC is going even further than that because now this moratorium has criminal penalties for landlords, okay? If they kick out tenants in affected counties. Basically, an eviction that does not result in death can be result in a fine of up to $100,000 and 1 year in prison. right? Or an eviction that does result in death could lead to a fine of $250,000 and a year in prison. Guys, I mean, they're literally penalizing landlords, right, for trying to get their money, okay, for getting some return on their investment, for the capital that they risk, and they're letting people who are avoiding paying rent, who don't want to get a job, get away scotch-free. This is the America that we live in, guys. This has consequences. So now what happens is that now these landlords are saddled with all this debt, right? You can force some of them into bankruptcy. A lot of tenants, right, gonna have this debt too. They're gonna be forced into bankruptcy. So now what happens when they actually finally do get kicked out, they do get evicted with all this debt, right, and a terrible credit score. What now happens? If I'm a landlord, why would I rent to anybody who has a history of not paying rent? Why would I do that? So now those people, again, these same people that Cori Bush or AOC think they're helping, no, they're actually hurting those people. Because what's going to happen is nobody's going to want to rent to them in the future, which is going to make it very hard for them to get any type of private housing. Going to make it very hard. So now nobody's going to want to rent to them. So now what happens? What does the government have to do? Right? Now the government is going to have to make laws to say, well, you know, maybe landlords aren't going to be allowed to deny people who basically didn't pay rent during the eviction moratorium. Or would the government pay off the tenant's debt? Under the first scenario, what happens is that, well, that's the government forcing landlords again to take on people who are not financially secure. Government's forcing them to do that. Landlords, again, probably not going to want to do that, which probably is going to drive more people out of the landlord space, okay, which is going to make less housing available. Less housing is going to be available. So under the second scenario, which is the government paying off all the debt that's owed to these landlords for the tenants, right? Basically paying off the tenants' debt, to people that didn't pay, paying off the debt. Well, what happens now? Well, what happens is that those people who did pay, right, they get screwed over. And all the people who did pay, they just got, what, a whole year plus worth of free rent and got away scotch-free. Got away scotch-free. But regardless of what the government does moving forward, these landlords are not going to be renting out properties to these people anymore. They're just not. They're not going to. Because they know what the government actually thinks about them. They know that there's nobody on their side and that they're not going to get a bailout. Landlords have been screwed over from the get-go. Not eligible for PPP loans, things like that. Like, they're going to get screwed over. So in the future, a lot of investors and small landlords are going to be very, very, very picky about who they let occupy their properties, right? And rightfully so, because it's going to be increased risk, knowing that the government, right, could essentially cancel rent, right? That's what they know, and that they're not going to get help, which ultimately is going to make it harder for poor people and people with poor credit and a lot of debt to find housing. That's what's going to happen. See, again, this is why I try to say it's going to be bad no matter what, and this is what we have to be afraid of when it comes to these radical socialist policies. Every single day, these sort of go out here and say, well, our policies are popular, the American people want them. That does not mean it is good, right? What the American people want is not always good. That's why we have a representative democracy. That's why we do not have a direct democracy. I know a lot of people don't like to hear that, but there's a reason why, right? Our founders designed our government the way it is, okay? They designed it so it was representative, right? It is what it is. But again, socialists say damn the economics, damn the Supreme Court, damn the landlords, damn small business owners, which they, again, have done by supporting all types of policies that have really damaged small businesses. And they're going to continue to do that. Guys, I'm going to tell you, the progressives have really shown themselves to be the worst thing for America in the past year, right? I mean, I'm telling you, there's no situation where I would ever want to live in a country ran by radical socialists. I just can't do it. Because this is the type of stuff that you get. People that take risks with their money, small investors, not the big ones. The big ones never get screwed over because you can just buy your progressives. The small investor always gets screwed over. The little guy always gets screwed over in favor of those who really are refusing to get jobs, who are trying to game the system. And that is what's happening right now. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.